Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yelani van Zyl and I'm from Community Keepers. It is with great honor and privilege that I can welcome each one of you today at our Thanksgiving celebration. We would like to thank you for your time and effort that you've set aside to attend this afternoon, as this is a busy time of the year. And we would also just like to thank you for your involvement in our organization and being part of the change. I'm now going to hand over to Gerrit Lanen, our CEO. Thank you.
And we can either draw conclusions that tends towards the negative, as in there's going to be an infestation, or we can look at them and we can say, well, interesting. And we prefer to look at our own data and say, well, interesting. This is saying something, but not necessarily everything. So when you look at our data, when you look at our results for the past year, please bear that in mind, is that for us they are interesting. They are an indication. They are a way of looking at going forward, most certainly, informing us. But they are still just that, not the ultimate. And of course, the other major important part is when you look at this little quote, that's what it's all about. Those statistics ultimately relates to individuals in whose lives we've been privileged enough to make an impact, contribution, and that's what it's all about. It is ultimately, for us even, not about the numbers, but actually about the people, of whom you all represent some of them today. Next slide, Marilee. So just a little bit of it's not boasting, a little bit of a picture as to where we've been, where we are going. Hopefully this will show you that the idea is that we are going upwards in terms of specifically the amount of schools that we're working in. We've, in the past year or so, we've kind of slowed down a bit for obvious reasons, but the idea is that we really are aiming to onboard as many schools as possible and to support as many schools as possible in the coming years. Then when we start talking about the actual services that we render, I think most of you would know that we have got 4 big chunks of work that we focus on. We are quite well known, and I think a lot of people, when they think of Community Keepers, would know about our counseling, our therapy support for learners, individual and in groups. Fewer people would know that there are also a major component of our work that is actually preventative and proactive, our Life Keepers groups. Bringing groups with learners, and precisely what the words say is that we're helping learners prepare for a more productive, more effective, more resilient, more agency-driven life as they grow up. Then the other 2 major circles of influence around our kids are obviously the teachers, some of you who are here, which I really appreciate today, and our parents. And it is a privilege to also make a contribution to parents and to educators, because ultimately what you do again with the learners is just part of the amazingness of how a team can actually see children grow, see them actually get to a point of well-being, which is something that, of course, we're aiming for. So talking about statistics, in the past year, and these figures are based on what we've gathered so far till end of October. We've got quite a rigorous recording system, and it takes quite a bit of time for us to actually sift through everything. But up till end of October, we basically have done this, or have attended to the same amount of clients individually, being around about 2,800 learners in individual therapy. So obviously our number are going to go up a little bit, which means that we're going to be, in terms of comparing to 2020, we will be serving more learners. I'm going to say it once more, and that's the last time, but effectively in all our stats, we can report that we've been serving, we've been servicing, we've been offering larger amounts of services as opposed to 2020. Of which we're, of course, very grateful, because 2020 was already for us a good year in terms of what we also track the amount of, or the sources of referral, and this year we've had 35% of learners referring themselves, and about 30%, currently 29%, being referred by educators. Of course, educators, that is a feather in your cap, that 29%. Thank you so much, because that is the quantifiable indication of how much you care about the kids. Sending them to us, bringing them to us, literally sometimes taking them by the hand, for which we are extremely grateful. You've read probably in terms of referral reasons, say that the world out there is not the most friendly of places at present for our parents, for you as educators, and also for our kids. It is quite, may I say, a zoo out there. It's quite wild. It's not fun. Going on to speak about who does the work, that is something which we sometimes get asked, is who are our staff? Our staff are made up of social workers, registered counselors, psychologists, also community-based mental health first aiders or first responders that we've recently started employing, and all of them form a system, a multidisciplinary system that serves a child's need, a parent's need, an educator's need, hopefully at the level which is appropriate. And that's what we're aiming for, is to give the right service by the right person for the right person. For interest's sake, 14,000 sessions, individual sessions conducted so far this year. In 2020, we had 10,000. And then we also had a component of telephonic conversations with the on-off situation of kids being at school, not at school. We realized that that is something which we started in 2020 that we really need to continue with. We've scaled down somewhat. To give you an indication, in 2020, we had 4,000 clients reached telephonically. But that was for obvious reasons. We still believe that in person, seeing kids individually, in person or in groups, are still the best way to go. And the 2,600 odd clients that we reached telephonically, that was necessary. That was a necessity of the circumstances. And we will continue with that for as long as it is possible and necessary. Obviously, we treasure feedback from our clients, Marilee. And this is what they've been saying. And this is the qualitative stuff. This is where I do not put a number to it, but it is kind of helpful to know that children who feel themselves to be caterpillars can become butterflies. And yes, we're not magic, we're not magical magicians, but we co-embark on a process, a journey with learners where they do pretty much the bulk of the work, but we are privileged to walk alongside them in this process, and it is beautiful to then see the butterflies develop over time. Also to see behavior changing, where somebody talks about hitting the wall and then saying, well, I know there's an alternative. Going on to Life Keepers, which is our preventative, proactive programs with learners. We have reached up till end of October, as I said, basically about 27,000 learners, and that is across 1,300 sessions. I think for us, Life Keepers, as we call it, is an extremely important part of what we do, because we believe that a lot of the trouble, a lot of the challenges arise earlier on. And if we can mitigate, if we can help kids become stronger in themselves before a crisis arises, it will actually help them to weather the storms, weather the circumstances that they're also very often exposed to in a much more efficient way for themselves. So essentially, what we're trying to do with our life keepers is to make our own lives and our children's lives a little bit easier. You see there that we've covered a whole range of topics, which I will not go into. Suffice to say that the topics are based on and adjusted according to the need as expressed by our schools, specifically by our learner committees and by our educator committees, who are the champions on behalf of community keepers and whom we also listen to with rapt attention, because you know best what is necessary. Just some more quotes following. Yeah, what more do you say? Children should know that it is okay and human to feel, no matter if it is sad, angry, or happy. They have the right to feel the way they do. Can you imagine if all the children in the country knew that they've got a right to feel and express the feelings? We're privileged enough to be part of that process where kids get that right. As I said, parent keepers being extremely important, circles of influence around the kids. We've reached in the past year about 13,000 parents. And yes, in a way different way as usual. In the past, we kind of focused and tried our best to get parents in person. Obviously, not being able to do that this year, we created a range of digital material. And we think that in the years coming, despite and even though COVID might be with us or not in the coming years, we'll probably follow an approach where we will always have a hybrid availability between people being seen, being accommodated in person in parent sessions, and also then making available digital material. There you can also see that we've again followed quite a broad range of topics, and most of them were aimed at capacitating parents so that they can support their children in a more effective or in a more appropriate, something that they also then resonate with, but in such a way that supports their kids. Educators, we have had an interesting year. And I'm really looking forward to what you guys as educators are also saying. We would love to give you guys an opportunity somewhat later. But a tough year for educators. I've had the privilege of speaking on a few broader platforms in the past few months. And one of the things that I've been saying consistently is that I think our educators have had way more on their plates than what is normal, what is probably also feasible. And I am really looking forward to seeing you guys going back to somewhat more of a normal life. And simultaneously, I think that we've really tried our best to support you also in a way that that first of all makes you feel supported and makes you feel that you are not on your own, but ultimately also in some way capacitating you for tasks that probably you were never meant to do. Just one example of feedback that we've had from educators is somebody who said that I've gained a lot of information with regards to managing anxiety in various aspects of my life at work and in a personal capacity. And I think that's always kind of like the golden midway that we're trying to reach, is to help you as educators, but never to forget that you are also human beings first and foremost, and that you've got your own lives and your own anxieties and your own fears and threats and also your joys. So thank you again for being with us in this team. I want to make special mention of specifically also the meetings that we've had. 162 meetings with educators. You sacrificing more of your time, which you probably didn't even have, but to help us to figure out plans, to go to be able to be in a position to say that whatever we offer to your respective schools are actually what is needed. I salute you for that, and I thank you for that. One more thing about the SBST meetings, for us that's a pivotal contact point, and we will continue engaging and also expanding our engagement in SBST meetings. A quick one about other services that, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, I've already wasted and used a lot of time. We've done a whole range of services that pre-COVID we didn't ever have. So we've got booklets that we distributed, we've got infographics, we've got posters, and we will probably continue with them because we've seen the value. We've seen the value of sending booklets as activities, especially during the holidays. We've heard anecdotally what the posters mean to people when they can read something, where they can have a snippet of information, not necessarily a full session, but something meaningful that's available visually. One last quick thing about the challenges that we faced are pretty much, I think, the same challenges that the schools in general have faced, being that school closures also had a huge impact on us. Isolation, people having to go into isolation, or just in general, the capacity constraints due to people either being sick or in isolation. School attendance has been quite a challenge for us this year, and I say nothing new to the teachers. I think I'm predominantly here talking to and with the funders, so that you also know that it's been a tough year. It's been a challenging year. And then just adhering to social protocol or social distancing protocol and health protocol as prescribed actually gobbled up inordinate amounts of time, which we don't have a lot of. So I have to acknowledge this again to my colleagues. You guys have done exceptionally well in a year that has had challenges that we've never before faced, and you've literally rode out the challenges, and you've overachieved in terms of compared to, not above, but compared to the challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, that is me. Hopefully not too much of a dragging about. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to be part of a team like this. And I'm going to conclude with that, I think. Thank you.
Good. So thank you, Gerrit. For the next 10 minutes, we would like to just spend some time in discussion in smaller groups. If you are meeting at a school, then you can log out for 10 minutes and then come back again. And if you're only joining online, then please stay on in order to join a breakout room. We will just spend some time discussing the following. There's a link between well-being and focusing on things that we are thankful for. Most studies have on the topic support an association between gratitude and well-being. And as community keepers work within this field, we want to give you the opportunity to spend some time reflecting on things from 2021 for which you are grateful. Please only share what you're comfortable with, but we would like to hear some highlights within your school and possibly also things linked to community keepers. When we return after 10 minutes, each group can share 3 things with us. It will be in a written format, so please decide within your groups who the person will be to share. So everyone is welcome to leave the meeting and then come back in 10 minutes time. And everyone online can just join their breakout room.
The gratitude that needs to go back to you all, both to funders and to the schools and to each individual at a school. To my team, take note. This is what we hear. This is what is being said. These are the gratitudes that are being literally thrown your side or given to you as little gifts.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining and spending time with us and joining online or at a school. We really appreciate being able to spend a few minutes with you. That is the end of our formal program. You are welcome to log off and just spend some time having refreshments and finishing off at your schools.